The Bethlehem Steel Company was the second largest steel manufacturing plant in the United States, second to Pittsburgh. In 1857, the Saucona Iron Company was founded. They would later move to South Bethlehem and become the Bethlehem Rolling Mill and Iron Company. In 1904, they would change their name to Bethlehem Steel. The construction of the first blast furnace began on July 1, 1861. It went into operation on January 4, 1863. The first rolling mill was built in the spring of 1861 and the summer of 1863. The machine shop would be built in 1865, and another blast furnace in 1867. During the 1930s, Bethlehem Steel made sections and parts for the Golden Gate Bridge. During the events of World War I and World War II, Bethlehem Steel was the supplier of armor plates and ordnance to the U.S. Armed Forces. This included armor plates and large caliber guns for the Navy. Bethlehem Steel was ranked 7th among the United States in the value of wartime production contracts. After the war, Bethlehem Steel supplied a wide variety of structural shapes for construction trades and forged products of defense and power generation. From 1949 to 1952, Bethlehem Steel had a contract with the federal government to roll uranium rods for nuclear reactors. The steel industry prospered during and after the war because of the devastation Allied bombs did to the steel industries in Germany and Japan. The company's high point was in the 1950s, as they began manufacturing 23 million tons per year. By the 1970s, imported steel was much more popular because of how cheap the steel was to purchase.
And I worked at Bethlehem Steel from May 12th, 1973 until October 31st of 1999.
Bruce J. Ward, a 27-year-old veteran at Bethlehem Steel, had 3 separate jobs. He worked in the beam yards, he also worked in the rolling mills, and finally ended his career as a rigger.
The beam yards was where all of the structural shapes came out of the mills and went in railroad cars and in trucks to be shipped all over the United States, and it was outside. So I worked after the rolling mills. I landed an apprenticeship with the riggers, and I spent the rest of my time in the steel from 1975 until 1999 as a rigger in the steel company, and that also had an apprenticeship. So I spent 4 years learning how to be a rigger. And a rigger is someone who does all the heavy lifting, repair work, construction, demolition, alterations of all of the equipment and machines and buildings throughout the plant. So that was my main job, and I stayed with that department for probably 24, 25 years. And I ended up as a rigger when I left. And I also
Throughout the 1990s, they started shutting down the plants. In 1995, the plant in Bethlehem was closed after about 140 years of operation. Now all that is left are the steel stacks, an arts and entertainment district.
Well, my thoughts on the transition of the post-industrial steel company to the current mixed reuse of the site, I'm kind of very excited. They could have just bulldozed the whole thing over and then put a mall there. And then 5 years from now, they'd put a newer, bigger mall 5 miles down the road. So to have it as the way it's used now, as an arts center and an entertainment complex, and to have the history being revisited on the Hoover Mason trestle and on the grounds of the old blast furnaces and the high house and the sands, I think it's a very good thing.